I want to take a bit to talk about what I think is the single most important question in marketing. And that question is, what do my customers care about most? What's important to them? Now, we need to have the answer to this question in order to deliver on our primary mission of creating value for customers. So one idea to find out what's important to them is to ask them. So let's play with that idea a little bit. So I want to talk about Chipotle. And first, I'd like you to think to yourself, how would you rate Chipotle, your overall liking, from 1 to 5? 1 being you don't like them at all, 5 being you like them very much. Now let's rate some aspects of Chipotle. How would you rate them on health? 1 being poor health, 5 being very healthy. How would you rate them on price? 1 being low price, 5 being high price. Now, how would you rate them on taste? 1 being don't like the taste very much, 5 being you really like the taste. Now, finally, I want you to rate the importance of these attributes. So if you're thinking about going to a restaurant like Chipotle, how would you rate the importance of health? 1 being very unimportant to 5 being very important to your decision. How would you rate price? 1 being very unimportant, 5 being very important. And finally, how would you rate taste? 1 being very unimportant and 5 being very important. Now, if you're like most people, and like myself, you find it's very easy to rate overall liking. We just know how much we like things. We even see this with very small children. They know what they like and don't like. The next easiest to rate for me was the attributes. Like, I think about how companies are good or bad at certain things. So it's not too hard for me to rate certain foods, the health, the price, the taste. The hardest people find is to rate the importance directly. And I think there's a few reasons for this. One is we don't typically consider how important something is to us when we're making decisions. And we may not even know why something is important or not. We may not be consciously aware of it. The other thing that makes importance ratings hard to give is they're very relative to each other. Imagine I threw in a fourth attribute that was maybe convenience, and that was the number one factor to you. Well, then you might want to go back to the others and say, well, let me make that a little less important, because now I know convenience is the most important. But here's the thing that's really neat about these questions I ask. We can actually infer importance from the overall liking and the beliefs about how Chipotle does on those different dimensions. And here's how. Here's the logic. So if we think about an attribute, any given attribute, say it's health of the food, that's going to contribute something to liking. And how much it's going to contribute depends on how well Chipotle does and how much that attribute matters to me. And so we can think of total liking as being adding all these contributions of each attribute together. So total liking equals how well does it perform on health times how much does health matter, plus how well does it perform on price, plus how much does price matter, plus how well does it perform on taste, times how much taste matters. Now, you may not notice this, but what we've essentially done there is given an equation for liking. In fact, that's exactly a regression equation. So here, to run a regression on this, overall liking would be our outcome or y variable. And then all those attribute beliefs would be our x variables. Those are our beliefs about how well it does on each dimension. Then when we solve that regression, the coefficients in that regression are the importance weights, right? So the coefficient that's multiplied times health, that's how important health is. The coefficient that's multiplied times price, that's how important price is, and so on. And we can then use those weights to know where we can best move the needle of value as marketers. We know then how to create value for customers. We have a formula for liking. And this helps us set a good strategy that lets us create more value for customers. And to me, that's really what good marketing is all about. And that's why this technique that I call preference regressions can be a powerful one to add to your toolbox. I hope you find the same.